I was just nervous I wasn't going to pass it, statistically speaking.
Hey, I think everybody. It's
no,
like going to the
no.
dentist. You think,
No, but
Christ.
see, I don't believe it, so it didn't bother me, except that I wouldn't be able to come and learn about this community. A mother who tests positive for HIV cannot breastfeed her child.
But
There's no evidence that that virus is passed in that way.
Well, all I can say is we
what an
don't get
actual
that.
fact.
We don't get that. We get a whole lot of people who, there's no 15%
I
who
know.
pop up from time to time with AIDS positive. It's
Well,
just
that's
not
so
there.
interesting to me.
And
But your Indian population does have higher
increasingly,
percentage.
yes, and it's getting more, and it's spreading into the middle class in India.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But do you think there's less sex here in this community? Actual physical push-ups?
no, I don't think so. I mean,
No.
it's
the same.
I don't
Well,
know.
why is it
I mean,
increasing in the Indian community? What do you feel? Why? Because they're not taking the precautions?
India's probably going the way of Africa. Now, you may then say, well, this not what's happening in Africa is not AIDS, but whatever it is that's causing all those dead bodies, that thing looks like it may well be coming here, whatever you want to call it.
I'll make you a deal. You stay open and I'll stay open. Okay? Because I donated $10,000 to an AIDS hospital in Kerala.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested in the topic, and I'm just so turned on, by this community because it's about sort of going beyond convention, whatever it might be, and I found it very refreshing that I could question Osho, and you said, well, that's okay. It's not that he, in other words, that he's all cosmic and knows absolutely everything.
No.
He wasn't a scientist.
No, absolutely not.
So that's really nice because I think in principle he was correct.
Yeah.
The society was out of control. I mean, the descriptions that I've read of the people who are coming down with these horrible symptoms, they're out of control. But it's not a virus,
Well, I'm not a virologist and I'm not an epidemiologist.
But you're a very important man in a community that the world looks to as...
Well, you would say, if I was a regular CDC doc, right, and it's clear to me that HIV causes AIDS, it's clear to me that whatever the strain is in Africa, it's maybe different from the strain in Europe, it would be clear to me that it's about to hit Asia, and it's already hitting Asia, and on their statistics, what is it, there's a new case every 10 seconds in the world now, 15 seconds or something like that, according to CDC view of what the disease is.
They juggle symptoms.
No, I understand, but I'm just saying from their point of view. So if you've created a situation over this time where this disease that you call AIDS, whatever it is, that they have very convincing evidence that convinces them of whatever it is they're saying about it, and there's one place in the world where nobody's getting it, on their criteria, I also would have thought that would be of interest, I have to say.
Yeah. Well, you're an interesting person, doing
it's
interesting
true.
work.
Yeah.
So what are the statistics of people that come through the gate that have?
I don't know exactly, but I know that from time to time there'll be a visitor from abroad who may be positive. We're not.
Do they look like a wreck?
No.
They don't look bad necessarily.
No. And we only do the ELISA tests on the premises.
ELISA's the initial. That's all.
Yeah, that's.
So they would need. We would then repeat that a couple of times. I mean, in a lot of the world, people accept a second ELISA as being a confirmation. Other people would be more purist and say, without a Western blot, you haven't got a confirmation. Then we send those people back to their country and say, you need to go and get this sorted out, get it confirmed, find out what's going on.
It's too controversial for you anyway, right?
But does it ever happen that they test positive and the second time they test negative?
Sometimes you'll get a kind of borderline something. There are some, I think, 99? I mean, they claim that there's going to be
Little fudge factor.
there's going to be some false positives,
Right.
and then you would really double check, and I mean, we would be really kind of we'd really want a kind of row of negatives before we were convinced, kind of thing, because that would be our attitude towards it.
I still don't understand why it's such a big deal here to enter the gate to have an AIDS test, because the sexuality, it's not explicit, it's not even going on, it's with consciousness. So why do you feel the need to be so...
You see, that's because it worked.
What do you mean?
Well, as far as we can see, whatever it is we did, for whatever reason,
it's working.
It's working.
Because they don't want to rock the
working?
boat.
That no one's getting AIDS? Is that
Yeah.
But
they feel it's
maybe it
working.
wouldn't have happened so much anyway.
No, that's also fine,
Right.
but you know, seeing as the treatment's pretty harmless, I'm not going to piss around with the treatment if it's working.
Yeah, but it seems
It's
like
not really a treatment. You're
Well,
just
not a
excluding.
Well, I'm just
the
thinking.
prevention.
I know. Okay,
Yes.
but let's supposing you've got a disease. Okay,
Yes.
and here you're taking one green one and one red one every night, and you're feeling great. And someone says, "Oh God, you don't need to take that red one in the morning." You go, "Well, it doesn't harm me. It doesn't cost anything. Tastes
Right.
fine. Why?
Okay.
I'm feeling fine.
Don't rock the boat.
Maybe I go on taking it." Unless there was some good reason not to take
Right,
it, then you'd
right.
say, "Why take it? Because perhaps it's poisonous." Or
Maybe for me, I just feel that in a community of such enlightenment as this, it's too much buying into a system that people have to stand up and object to. But I don't expect.
But you see, I don't know that's right. If I did know that was
I
right,
know.
of course,
I know.
then it would be
well,
a
that's
different.
why. That's why I'm hoping to maintain a dialogue with you, and I will too, because I want to gather the other side, because I want my charity to be able to present very consciously, both sides of the argument. To say we did do our work, we did, you know. And
you don't test for venereal disease. That might actually, you know,
Yeah, what about venereal disease?
that might actually be spread.
But you see, the whole emphasis on AIDS is not just about disease.
Yeah.
It's about,
condoms.
it's about this disease, and Osho's insight is this is going to polish off a lot of people.
But it hasn't.
But it hasn't.
happened. Well, maybe
Where?
in Africa.
It hasn't in Africa.
Okay, well then let's.
No, I don't
okay,
know.
No,
I don't
okay.
know the statistics.
He hasn't listened to the tape either.
No,
It's
I
not
don't
his
know.
favorite
Listen to
topic.
the
No, no.
statistics that it
But
what the percentage-
okay, let's at least say that a lot of people who've devoted their whole career
Yes.
to that subject
Yes.
have all convinced each other that there's a large number of dead bodies who conform to some very clearly defined patterns, die, and fit in with their chemical, their
Right.
clinical criteria, that they're satisfied that there is something called AIDS and it is polishing off a lot of people. And that was also exactly what Osho said would happen.
Right.
And his concern is that at the end of the day, let's at least make sure that if anyone's left, at least there's some conscious people left.
Right.
I see.
That's why he's so concerned that and who knows where this thing goes.
Right.
You know, let's supposing there is something called AIDS. Let's supposing all the things that we read about the first case from Africa 20, 30 years ago, let's supposing all that is true. Okay? And it's, you know, anything's possible, right? That, whatever that process is, and whatever killed all those people, it has emerged incredibly rapidly, right?
I don't know. I suppose it has. I'm just taking the other
Well,
argument.
that's
Let's say
one-
it's not
I mean,
true.
I know
Okay,
the
well
others-
let's say whatever it's
here-
caused by, whatever it is,
whatever's killing people.
whatever's
No,
killing
there's
people is killing a
tuberculosis.
lot of new people
Tuberculosis,
that weren't
malaria.
dying. I understand, but let's say all the people in New York,
Yes.
right? That everybody knows someone who's died of AIDS. They say, right? Whatever the disease is, right? Whatever it is that's killing them wasn't killing them before, as far as anyone knows.
That's true.
And those that are dying, they're not testing positive for the diseases that you could
But
stick
in New
that
York, there's
into.
less people dying of whatever it is. I mean,
No,
Because the
well,
drug
okay,
use is
okay. No, I'm not.
Okay, I know.
I'm just trying to stay
I'm trying to
clear
say.
of all the different
Yes.
possibilities, and
Yes.
there may
You're doing
be
great.
combinations of possibilities. I don't know. I mean, I can only just look
Right.
at. All I'm saying is that whatever that process is, you could make a very strong argument, truthful or not truthful, you can make a very strong argument for whatever it is.
Right.
It is developed and developing very rapidly. Okay?
Right.
People
Or
are
I
making.
guess they are.
They are making that argument.
Yes,
okay?
correct. They are making that argument.
Right. And they're making the argument that the bug that they feel is responsible for it is a very rapidly mutating bug, they say. And if any of that is true, then you would be mad to try and guess what's going to happen tomorrow.
Unless you can isolate the bug and say it's caused
Well,
by malnutrition or HIV
Oh, yes,
or...
sure. I mean, I think the main problem with the... Because we've been so, in a way, involved with AIDS from day one, because even before there was a test,
People had you in their sights.
we were using condoms and taking all the precautions even before there was even a test for it, right? So before anyone even knew whether it's a virus or what it was, right? I mean, or whatever they said, right? So we've been following all the kind of anti-AIDS, people would write and say, hey, are you sure? Da, 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 right from over 15 years. And
I understand.
in order for the it's not HIV view to be right, one would have to postulate an incredible number of people being incredibly blind. Now that's not a new phenomenon on the planet.
Right,
I'm not
you
saying
said
that,
it about-
but
I
it
know.
would be it would kind of be hard to imagine that number of people, all of whom would love to be able to pull the leg of the next guy and get the better job. So it's not like they're all on the same team.
But you did say they're blind about marriage and relations. You
Clear,
said this.
clear.
No,
before,
that's
so
what I'm saying. He's
No,
really
I-
amazing.
This is what
No, no.
Paul's tried to point
No,
out.
He's
no.
amazing.
Hey,
I know.
I agree.
Yes.
I
We're
mean,
on the
I
same-
think the extent
Just a better
of
diplomat.
mass hypnosis
Yeah.
on the planet is, of course, extraordinary. Whether you'd be able to explain all the people who've really looked at all the different facets of AIDS and all the different directions, so that they've all come to the wrong conclusion. You can never say at some point everyone was sure the Earth was flat. I don't
Right.
know. I just think, personally,
Well-
I would be amazed
well, one thing
by
they
now.
Well, pharmaceutically controlled, brainwashed, But anyway.
But I'm just saying the gist of this show, after half an hour of people watching us, is they're going to know that this ashram or this community, this meditation resort, is a very clean together place. There's no question about that. And for those who are savvy about the topic, they'll certainly pick up your discrimination and your ethical concern. Not only for this community, but as you are relating to the rest of the world. And I'm sure it's not only for your reputation that you're concerned, or the community. You really take your meditation practice seriously, and you want, and that's all I'm trying to get out.
Yeah, no, I mean
There's so much suffering in the world.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And people are barking up so many wrong trees.
And if there were, let's supposing there was if you wanted to, let's supposing with any disease, there's clearly something that attacks, let's say, or some reason, or whatever people use the word, a cause, or whatever they say is the kind of the cruise missile coming in, right? And then there's the vulnerability of the guy at the other end, right? So that's always a dynamic. And when the guys from Italy, from the AIDS Positive Center in Italy came the other day, they also have been very fit and very well for a very long time. And so if there were a way to
I would love to get
enhance one's immunity, whatever, in a way, it's a funny word, really. It's almost like it's whatever one does to
clean up lifestyle.
well, whatever one does that makes you kind of more natural, more life positive, that has to counteract the effect of kind of being anti-self, which must be conspiring with any other incoming missile to make the incoming missile more powerful.
Right.
And the less anti-self you are, the more you're going to be a more resilient biological blob that might be able to manage to ward off the cruise missile. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious.
It's really nice to hear you explain these things, because I think a lot of society has a misconception about this community, and they regard you as the missile coming in to threaten marriage values and a lot of things that make us fine citizens. You know?
Well,
and yet when you explain it's different. But in order to get that information out, you need to do a little work. I mean, that's what we're about.
I think
we're just trying to get dialogue going.
Yeah.
You know?
I think everyone has to be able to choose for themselves.
Yeah.
And I think it's just as you would say there is about AIDS, I think about a lot of subjects, there's a lot of additional information which doesn't make it to the front pages.
Right. Well, the AIDS, the HEAL people, Health Education AIDS Liaison, they say the culprit is sexual hysteria. It's just hysteria. People just can't deal with it, and so basic high school science goes away. But like you say, it's not the only topic we're hysterical about. There's nuclear proliferation, and the environmental degradation, and so on.
Well, I mean, can you imagine, in any case, whatever the cause of AIDS, can you imagine the problems people have of dealing with something that's got death and sex and maybe drugs thrown in and homosexuality all tossed in together? I mean, it's like the real devil's brew here.
Right.
The chances of being able to kind of look at that with any kind of clarity is pretty minimum,
But that's
I'd
what
say.
you're about here in this community, isn't it? Looking with clarity at whatever you happen to be
just
looking
trying
at.
to see what there is there, what is and what ain't.
It's been really nice to talk to you about all this.
All right.
Anyway, this is Paula Gloria again with The Whole Tooth, thanking you for joining us with Dr. Andrews here at the Osho Meditation Resort, and we've shared some really nice ideas, and we just hope to keep glowing and growing. So thank you for joining us. It's really a lot of fun.
Nice, huh?
Really.